While other MLB executives and GMs are sleeping with sick tummies, Jerry Dipoto was out here finalizing deals for a minor league pitcher, Tyson Miller. A minor league contract was given to a journeyman reliever in the MLB last year. A guy that pitched 43 innings in AAA last year to a 3.5 ERA and like 13 innings in the MLB to a 4.7 ERA is now a Seattle Mariner. Tyson Miller, formerly a Brewers pitcher in some capacity, is now a Seattle Mariner. The contract, like the Taylor Saucedo contract or the, going out and getting Gabe Spire. This dude could give us major league innings next year. He could also end up being nothing. It's one of those situations where they're just trying to acquire cheap depth on a flyer, and if he can fit, go for it. I mentioned his stats across AAA and the MLB last year. It's not super inspiring, but we know what the Mariners pitching lab can do, and pointed out by Ben Ranieri here, my favorite thing about this dude, he looks like Paul Sewald. At arm slot, the velo's 91, the break on his slider, it's not as much, but watch this. That's so similar. It's so reminiscent of Paul Sewald to an extent, and if he can do that at the major league level, I'm all in. We're in the final push to 10,000 subscribers. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel if you guys enjoy watching the content regularly. And don't forget to like the video. The main reason why you're all here is that the Brewers are having a fire sale, and whether or not there are fits for the Seattle Mariners in those major league roster spots, basically. What guys can we go out to help fill out the major league team for the Mariners in 2024? And unfortunately, I don't really think it's that lucrative. Even the team that won the NL Central last year, I'm not fully inspired by a lot of the players that they've got to offer. But if we need to take a look at players we'd want to acquire, we might need to take a look at their prospect list first. Because these top four here are within the top 50 in the MLB pipeline here. Tyler Black, I think, is 51st. We've got an outfielder, a catcher, a right-handed pitcher, and a third baseman. There's not shortstop depth here until like 9 through 12. So maybe we could focus on packaging like a Michael Arroyo in this, a guy that might not have a spot in the Seattle Mariners organization. He's a top 5 prospect for us. They don't need outfield depth. Sal Frelick, Jackson Chourio, Garrett Mitchell, those are probably the 3 outfielders for the future for them. So as far as outfielders, they don't really need, like if we were to trade them, Gabby Gonzalez in a package for Christian Yelich, let's just say. Because they're probably going to offload Christian Yelich, former MVP. We know what he was able to do back in 2018 and 2019. Fell off a little bit, but now he was a little bit back last year. A 3.6 WAR, I think an ERA plus of over like 120, a 124 OPS plus. I said ERA plus, lol. And yeah, Yelich, it's one of those situations of like, what version of Christian Yelich are we going to get? Are the Brewers going to pay down this 9-year, $215 million contract? I don't know. We'd have him through 2028. There'd be a mutual option for 2029. If it works out, that would be awesome. If he can continue to post like an OPS around 818, between 738 and 818 for the next 3-4 years, that'd be awesome. But we don't know if that's what we're going to get, because in years prior to this, he kind of slowed down. And he's on the wrong side of 30. Christian Yelich, he's not the guy that was once putting up this full slate of red savant pages like this in 2018 and in 2019, right? The batted ball profile has changed drastically. He's no longer pulling the ball with power. He's pushing the ball. And in T-Mobile, that might not work for a left-handed bat. A package here, I think, like Emerson Hancock and Michael Arroyo, have them pay down the contract. If they don't pay down the contract, that's where I'd stop. Emerson Hancock, Michael Arroyo. But if they do, that's probably like the Miller Wu conversation at that point, and then you'd have to go out and get a free agent pitcher at some point. It's just the fit. I'm not in love with anything that I've found from the Milwaukee Brewers, unfortunately. And as much as I wanted to, it just wasn't there. And a guy that I thought was a surefire pick to translate from shortstop to second base to be a complement to Josh Rojas and have Josh Rojas be the more utility infielder, Willy Adames. He's due $12 million in arbitration this year, and he put up a 95 OPS plus last year. Since they acquired Willy Adames in 2021, the Brewers, he's slowed down. A 137 OPS plus in 99 games for the Brewers in 2021. We all were clamoring at the idea of, wow, the Brewers got a steal from the Rays here. How could the Rays give this guy up? And sure, he had shown flashes of hitting in the past, but he's slowing down again and showing that he's more of a glove-first infielder. And there's nothing wrong with being a glove-first infielder. At second base, it might work out. But for $12 million, I'm not really wanting to pay a guy $12 million for this, right? It could work out, but as far as batted ball profile, he's not going to hit 24 home runs in T-Mobile Park. It's just not going to happen. And so the package that it would take to acquire Willy Adames, if they traded shortstop, move Bryce Terang to shortstop at that point, maybe we trade them Jose Caballero in this to give them a second baseman until someone from the prospect list is ready. But it's not going to just be Caballero. This might be, they're still going to be wanting young pitching. So maybe this is like Emerson Hancock and Jose Caballero. It could work, but do the Brewers take that? Probably not. So I'm not really sold on Willy Adames either. Nothing's really stuck out for me from the Brewers up until maybe the last guy on this list, but the package, it's gonna be pretty significant for the final guy here. Before we get there though, Rowdy Tellez I think needs to get mentioned. He is Mike Ford essentially, and I don't know why we'd want to pay Mike Ford $6 million like Rowdy Tellez is due in 2024 from arbitration. Last year, Tellez did not do inspiring work at the plate, 82 OPS plus in 105 games. It's one of those situations, again, like Willy Adames, slowed down since the Brewers acquired him in 2021 and 2022. It's just, he's slowed down. And what are we going to get from him in T-Mobile Park? I can't imagine it being so much better than an 82 OPS plus, because the park factors in T-Mobile Park, we have the worst park factor in terms of from StatCast in 2023. Nothing's going to change with that, theoretically. So why would we go out and try and get a bounce-back guy for $6 million? The main conversation, obviously, with the Brewers is their premier pitching that they have to offer. And do the Mariners have a fit with Corbin Burns? I don't really think so, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention Corbin Burns, because he's a 3-year All-Star in a row, former Cy Young. We know what Corbin Burns has done ever since he broke onto the scene in 2021. He is due $15 million in arbitration for good reason. He has been a dog. But the package that it would take to acquire him, I just don't think the Mariners have the firepower to compete in that market. And I don't really know if Corbin Burns is a necessary evil for the Mariners to go out and get. We've got Kirby, we've got Castillo, we've got Gilbert. Do we need, I mean, sure, adding Corbin Burns for the right price, duh. But the package would be a lot more than I think what people would want to give up. I would say if anyone out of the pitching for starting pitchers for the Brewers that we acquire, it would be Adrian Hauser. We'd get him for a year, and he put up an ERA plus of 105 last year. He'd be a mid-level starter, like a 4 or a 5 for you that can give you solid innings when you need him to. If we went out and traded Miller or Wu in another package to acquire a different bat, this would be the guy that I could see the Mariners going out and acquiring from the Brewers to fill that back end of the rotation spot for the time being. But the pitcher that is the most intriguing for me, and probably for a lot of people, is Devin Williams, the airbender. We know his changeup is nasty. He's been a lockdown guy at the back end of a pen for a while now. If we were to go out and acquire Devin Williams from the Milwaukee Brewers, the Mariners bullpen would be the best in MLB. That was already very, very good last year. If we were to go out and get him, it would be insane. Pairing him up with Munoz and Brash at the back end of that pen, and you've still got Topa, you've still got Spire, it would be nuts. Package would probably require you trading from your major league pen already. Maybe a younger guy like Isaiah Campbell, who's got a ton of control, could go back into the Brewers in this situation. They'd want starting pitching, so you're probably either going Miller, Wu, or Hancock in this situation. And I can understand why, because dudes posted a 209 and 282 ERA plus in back-to-back years, an ERA below 2 across like 60 innings basically each year. Devin Williams, his savant pages are red. His walk percentage is not great. Doesn't maybe control the zone in terms of pitching as much as we'd like to. But again, his stuff is elite enough to work around that. Devin Williams, he is owed $6.5 million next year, and you've got him for an extra year because he's ARB eligible next year as well. He would be the prize package, I think, for the Mariners as far as fit goes and what they might be asking for and what you could give them to acquire for them from the Brewers in this fire sale, because everything else, there's this big catch. I feel like this thing that would hold up the trade, this like nagging thing, like the Yelich trying to get the contract paid down. Willy Adames' asking price because he's young. Devin Williams, you know what you're getting. You know what you're probably going to have to pay. Major league pitching and maybe like a younger guy that's a little bit further out. But it's tough to say what the Brewers be wanting, where they see themselves competing, because they just lost Craig Counsell to the Cubs. So it's a really hard situation, I think, for teams to navigate with the Brewers and see what they're asking for, because I don't think the Brewers have a ton of leverage necessarily, and how the Mariners should be able to capitalize over that. It'll be definitely interesting to see how Jerry and co navigate that. And with that all being said, though, I really wouldn't be surprised if the Mariners do end up getting a trade done with the Brewers or with one of these teams that Colton talked about in this video, with linking the Mariners to guys like Yandy Diaz and Pete Alonso. So check out that video on the screen right now if you have not watched that one. Thank you guys for watching this one, and go Mariners.